As all the big cities and all the big metropolises all over the world, we are facing the questions of congestion and the questions of pollution, air pollution. So that is why we are putting on priority 3 pillars. First, developing the public transit and the mass transit, because we need that to transport people every day. Second, developing active mobility, means walking and cycling. And third of all, developing the shared mobility. So that means also developing all the possibilities for car sharing instead of having the property of our own car. So with these 3 pillars, we are also reducing the place for individual cars. We are sharing the public space, and we are giving also the opportunities to people to move in another way than by their own car. Yes, we have a very important project for the next 12 years, by 2030, which is the Grand Paris Express. It's a new network who will completely redefine the network of the metro in Paris with 200 new kilometers of metro, and it will bring also the opportunity for the people who are living in the suburbs not to use their car but to use the metro as we use it in Paris already. So we will have a network with a density of public transport that will be very important. All the people who are living in the Grand Paris, which means 7 million people, will be at less than 2 kilometers of a railway station. So we will have a very strong network who will allow the possibility for the people not to use their cars but to use the mass transit and the public transport. By the past, till 2017, the parking work was controlled by the police department. And since the beginning of this year, 2018, it is controlled by the municipality. And we have renewed all the parking policy with a stronger control about people who are using the public space. We had a very bad rate of paying, which was just 10%. Of the citizens and the car owners that were paying the parking, and now we have a better respect of the paying of the parking, and that brings also new services to the car users because we see more available spaces, less cars turning to try to have a parking. So that brings also a better service for the people who are using the cars in Paris. So instead of, for example, we had till 25% of the traffic who was made by people who were just turning to find a place for parking. And then today we have just 10% of the traffic that is caused by this research. So we have also reduced the traffic, and especially the people who are turning to find a place to park. With this new law, and by the fact that we have a stronger control on the parking, we have also new incomes and new revenues in our budget. So it allows us also to have a better service, to have more infrastructure for cycling, for example, more bus lane, and also a better service for car owners. We can also renew the public space in a better way. Like all the big cities, Paris was a car-oriented city. And we know that the 20th century was the century of car industry. Now we are trying also to build a new way of urban planning for the cities, and in which we want to give more space to pedestrians, to cyclists, and also to life, I would say. So today the car represents just 10% of the trips in Paris, but it represents 50% of the public space. So we have to pursue our work that we have done since several years now, to share the public space, to give more space to pedestrians by enlarging the sidewalks, by also redesigning the public squares. We have a program for 7 main squares, including, for example, the Place de la Bastille, which will give 50% more space for pedestrians. We have also to share the public space by giving also new possibilities for cyclists. So we are also, with our Plan Vélo, giving more space to cyclists by removing car lanes and replacing them by bike lanes. And then we have also a program to develop the buses lane and the tramway lanes, also to give the priority to the mass transit. So in that way, with these 3 options, we are trying also to redesign our streets for more livable and more also breathable streets. It is just a survey. We want to make a survey about this question because we want to do it without any taboo about this question. We don't say that it is possible or it is not possible. We are just saying, okay, let's look at this question and what is all about. Is it possible or not to have a free public transport for everyone? Or is it not? Is it just possible for some categories of the citizens? For example, the oldest. For example, we have already given a free public transport for the people aged more than 65 years, for example. And we want to look all these questions. And also the question of the financing of the mobility. For example, can we have a possibility to have a congestion charge, for example, which will allow also this, who will give us incomes and which will allow this free public transport? Or is it not? So the survey will tell us if it's possible or not. I think that we have a huge potential in all our cities and all our countries about active modes. As we saw before, our cities were car-oriented cities made by the car industry the last century. But we know that this orientation brought us both congestion and both pollution. So we have to reinvent our cities. And if we want livable, breathable and sustainable cities in the 21st century, we must have other options. And there is a huge potential in developing the active modes, meaning walking and cycling. Walking, I would say, for the distances within 1 kilometer, and cycling for all the distances, maybe till 10, 15 or 20 kilometers. We have now the e-bikes that can also give the opportunity for most of the people to drive bikes even for long distances. So we have to build networks with secured and continue bike lanes in our cities. So that will give the possibility for most of the people to use this kind of mode of transportation for the daily trips. Because we know that the commuters, for example, a lot of them are doing today short distances by cars. So we can also shift to another mode of transportation, which is more sustainable, who is good also for the health, and of course who doesn't cost nothing. So it has just good aspects to develop cycling. So that's why I'm also trying to share this conviction with the other mayors and the other decision makers. I think that we have to reinvent our cities, and we know that we are all facing a huge challenge, a huge issue, which is the question of the climate change. We can also see it by the weather that we are saying in our streets these days. It is not normal to have 25 degrees in October in our countries. So we have to act. We have to act now and not in some years, and we have to take strong measures to make our cities breathable and sustainable. So if I can share this conviction with you to act for a sustainable urban planning, it will be that.